All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to unpack a really fascinating story about how Pakistan is strategically repositioning itself. We're going to connect the dots between a surprise political truce, a very strange story about a spy pigeon, and a high stakes proposal for Gaza. It's all part of a bigger picture showing how Pakistan is carving out a new role for itself on the world stage.
So you've got this political truce that nobody saw coming, a pigeon that's literally been accused of espionage, and a formal request for Pakistani troops to be sent to Gaza. Now, these might sound like totally random headlines, right? But they're not. They're all threads in a single, compelling story about Pakistan's major strategic pivot. Stick with me, and we're going to piece it all together.
Okay, so first things first, we've got to start inside Pakistan because there's this unexpected alliance forming that is completely rewriting the country's political playbook. And honestly, this is the foundation for everything else we're going to talk about. So, for the first time in 3 long years, the PTI party, that's Imran Khan's party, was actually able to hold a major political rally. And get this, they held it in Karachi, which is the absolute heartland of their biggest rivals, the Pakistan People's Party. But what's really wild is what didn't happen. There were no police crackdowns, no tear gas, no mass arrests, none of the chaos that's become standard for these kinds of events lately. I mean, this slide just says it all. The sense of whiplash here is incredible. Not too long ago, PTI's leader was publicly calling the head of the PPP a bandit, and now the PPP is essentially rolling out the welcome mat for them in their own backyard. This kind of 180-degree turn doesn't happen by accident. It's a calculated political deal, and it's a huge signal that something much bigger is going on behind the scenes. But look, this truce wasn't just a friendly handshake. It came with a very strict set of rules. As you can see, the conditions were tight. You can't criticize state institutions, no divisive language, and PTI had to handle all of its own security. This wasn't about a newfound friendship. It was a carefully negotiated political arrangement designed to keep things under control while still allowing a show of political activity. Okay, so as these alliances are shifting back home, Pakistan is also having to play a very careful game on the international stage. We're talking about incredibly sensitive situations from its immediate neighbors all the way to the Middle East. And now for something, well, a little bizarre. An Indian news channel ran a story about capturing a Pakistani spy pigeon that was supposedly carrying a coded message. The source we're looking at basically points out how absurd this is. You know, in an era of encrypted apps like Signal and Telegram, does anyone really think a major intelligence agency is using carrier pigeons? It almost feels like a distraction from more serious things, doesn't it? All right, shifting gears to something much more serious. The United States has been putting some major pressure on Pakistan. They want them to send troops to be part of a proposed International Stability Force, or ISF, for Gaza. This is a huge ask, and it puts Pakistan in a really tricky diplomatic spot. But Pakistan's response has been crystal clear. They've laid out 3 conditions, and they've said these are non-negotiable. First, their only job would be to provide security for the people of Gaza. Second, they will absolutely not be involved in disarming any groups. And third, if the civilians they're protecting are attacked, they will fight back to defend them. So it's a purely protective role, nothing else. But here's the kicker. While the U.S. is pushing for Pakistan to get involved, other major players are slamming the door shut. When Israel's ambassador to India was asked about it, his answer was direct and blunt. Pakistani forces in Gaza? Absolutely not. This just perfectly illustrates the diplomatic tightrope Pakistan has to walk. And this whole delicate dance over Gaza, it's really a symptom of a much bigger global game. To really get what Pakistan is doing, we have to zoom out and look at how superpowers are maneuvering for strategic advantages and resources all over the world. For example, let's talk about Greenland, a place that seems a million miles away from all this. It's a massive island, but its population is tiny, only about 57,000 people. So why do we care? Because the U.S. is reportedly so interested in its strategic value that there has been talk of trying to buy it. It just goes to show you the length superpowers will go to secure key assets. So what's the big deal with Greenland? Well, it boils down to 2 main things. First, its location is perfect for the U.S. military. They already have bases there for missile defense against Russia. And second, it is sitting on a treasure trove of resources. We're talking vast, untapped deposits of rare earth minerals, which are essential for everything from your smartphone to next-generation weapon systems, not to mention gold, silver, and copper. And you can really feel how tense this global competition is in these small moments. The source brings up an instance where a reporter asked Donald Trump if he was going to pick up Vladimir Putin, That kind of language, even if it's casual, just reveals the aggressive, high-stakes atmosphere that countries like Pakistan have to navigate every single day. Which brings us to our final section, because all of this, the stability at home, the careful maneuvering abroad, is leading to a brand new chapter for Pakistan. After decades of mostly being a buyer of military hardware, the country is now becoming a major seller on the world stage.
And the scale of this change is just staggering. I mean, just look at these numbers. A reported $4.6 billion deal with Libya, another $1.5 billion with Sudan. And they're in major talks to sell their advanced JF-17 fighter jets to both Azerbaijan and Iraq. This isn't just selling some equipment. It's a fundamental change in Pakistan's entire economic and strategic identity.
And really, this is the bottom line. The source makes it clear that there was a time when Pakistan couldn't get anyone to buy its military tech. Now it says there are countries lining up. This is a complete turnaround, and it represents a massive shift in its global standing and influence.
So, what does it all add up to? You have an unexpected truce at home that brings stability. You have a very carefully calculated stance on global conflicts that builds credibility. And you have a booming arms industry that brings economic power. All these pieces are fitting together, and they're painting a picture of a nation that is actively and successfully reshaping its own destiny. The real question now is, what's the next chapter for Pakistan, and who will its partners be in this new global game?